Hi, my name's Al Cahy. I'm a math and computer science teacher with the Ottawa Carleton District School Board in Ottawa, Canada. And I wrote this Google Meet attendance extension to help me record attendance when last March we were kicked out of the schools and forced into online teaching on not very much notice. And I looked around for something that would help me take attendance, and like the current um, attendance reports that you can get from Google. If you're an enterprise customer, most of the other solutions out there only will tell you who was in the meet, and they don't tell you who wasn't. And from my perspective, it was equally important to know quickly who wasn't in the class. And so, using that as a starting point, that I wanted to have a class of students that I knew who was supposed to be there, I built the extension. I also wanted it to have those separate class lists for each of my classes, so that I didn't have to kind of fumble around and say which one am I working with now. And so, dialog, which gets created when you have the extension installed, in the left-hand corner there is a drop-down list. Default, that list contains just a generic class list or a class entry called class list, and then a section for your classes. And I'll show you how to add your classes right now. Manage. In previous iterations, that used to be an add button, but now it's been managed, and so now I've got my class list. There are no students in that class at the moment, and I can add a class. As you please, really doesn't matter what you enter. I typically enter mine as course code, section number, and perhaps a little bit of other information. As you please, period 1 English or period 3, whatever. You enter the name, sign, and there it gets added to the list, and you continue to do that. Now that just creates the buckets into which you can put the students' names. And so if I log, return to my class, so my drop down, you'll see that there is now the new entry for my class. Names into the class, I would suggest that you allow the extension to do it for you. If you start a meet with class list selected, then that will be the one into which the extension will add names. If I want to add names to my other class, so I select that class. As the students join the meet, the extension looks to see, is this person already on my list? If it isn't, then I'll add them. If it is, I'll mark them present. And that's all it does. So it takes a look at who is showing on your Google Meet screen and either adds the names to the list automatically, or marks them present if they're on the list. And the advantage of allowing the extension to put the names into the list for you, at least initially, is that different school boards have different standards in terms of the way that the students appear on your Google Meet screen. Sometimes they appear as first space last, Al space Cahy. Other times they will appear as last name comma first. Sometimes I've seen on some occasions where they have initials and student ID codes and school markings and blah blah blah, all sorts of other information. And so, if you don't know the format of the names as they're going to appear on your Meet screen, well then, if you leave the list empty, the students will be added automatically for you. You can, if you're really bound and determined to type the list yourself or copy and paste the list yourself, icon here with a pencil, and there is a spot to put your class list. You can click into that field and then type several names. You can copy and paste them from another source. So if you've got an Excel spreadsheet with your names, again, the key thing here is that what you put into this field has to match the names as they appear, as they log into your Meet. Then there are ways to change that, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But I've got my names typed in. I don't have to click save. I don't have to do anything. Tab outside the field, and boom, the names have been added to the list automatically for you, and they've been added to the class called this whatever. This is a new class. Now, going back to the whatever the tab for class list, I get there by either choosing the entry from the drop down menu, or equally, I can click on this little icon here where I have my class lists. If things go funny, for whatever reason, your class names get all messed up or they disappear for whatever reason, there are a variety of ways to recover them. Uh, if one of the ways to recover them is to get a list of the student names, which you can do by clicking on this backup button over out on the extreme right, and just click on that, and it will create a list of a file with all of your names backed up. Equally, I click on this folder button. It brings up a dialog, and I'm now able to select a file that I want to import. And here is a list of students. My grade 10 computer studies class this morning is the HTML report generated by the extension. And you notice that the names aren't, or that class isn't listed in my list of classes right now. So I select that, pick open, class, 29 names associated with that class. If you have a backup created, so I can do that individually, one file at a time from a backed up or sorry, previously saved version of the. I can also go to this folder, and here I have a backup of all of my classes that was created earlier today. If I select that, open this, warning that it is going to replace all of the names in the classes. So if there's a duplicate class already there, it will replace those names with the ones that have been saved previously. If the class doesn't exist, it will add the class and also add all of the names associated with that student, or that all the students' names. Now all of my names are back into the extension. I can log. Here's my class list with those 5 students. Into my TIG class, a whole bunch of students in this class. Don't worry about the asterisks. That's just hiding personal information from the students. And so there are the students, but buried in the middle of that list. And so there are a variety of things that you can do with this, and this applies to in a variety of contexts. But if I don't want my name appearing in the list as it is here, or if student names appear in the list that you don't like, that you've got this chicken noodle soup of names where there's a student initials and then an ID number and a school code and that sort of things, and that you don't want that stuff to appear in the list, well then click on the names. This is the login name that has to match what the student appears in your Meet window as. But then from there, control over the way that things are displayed and sorted, etc., etc. By default, the extension splits the name on spaces and assumes that the last name, the last entry, the last thing after a space is the surname. And that works well in my case because it's Al space Kahi. Kahi is my surname, and off we go. But when you have students with double and triple barreled surnames, then things kind of get broken. And so what you can do is you actually name is the surname. If you don't want the student to appear, or this particular entry to appear as I have posed, to mask my name and say that, well, I'm just Mr. C. And there I am. So that will display, it's the way that my name is displayed in the list, but it's still right in the middle of the list. And so the next thing that you can do in the when you're defining your students and tweaking your students, shall we say, is you can put them into separate groups. And this really came about when teachers asked, "Well, I've got a group of kids where I've got a 3-4 split. That some of them are grade 3, some of them are grade 4, and I want to have those names sorted alphabetically, but within their cohort or within their class." So, turning to the dialogue. Sorry, I don't want to be in this dialogue. Click on an entry once again. Um, Field for group. And so if you have a grade 3 group and a grade 4 group within the same class, well, then you can just put all of them into the same group. Now, you don't have to give the group a particular meaningful name. It's if you want one group to be alphabetically before the other group, well, then you just give that group name, shall we say, an alphabetically list. And so at this point, there is no one in groups right now. So myself in own group. So I'm in a group called one. What does that mean? Doesn't really matter. None of the other students, none of the other people on this list are in a group. So they're alphabetically before me. So the sort algorithm sorts first by group and then by surname or first name, depending on what you've selected. On the settings tab, an entry which allows you to sort by first name, last name, or manually. And with the manual sorting operation, you just drag the little buttons to the spot that they want. It will record the order that they're in and then sort based on that moving forward. The thing about groups is now I'm in my group again. There is a special group about because teachers asked if there's a way to hide people within the report. So maybe you don't want your name to appear in the report, or maybe you have an EA or a teaching assistant in the classroom with you, or a special guest who drops into your class occasionally. They're on your list, but you don't want them to appear in the HTML reports. So in this group, if you put them into a special group, the name it's a reserved name. Ignore. If you put a person into a group called ignore, when you get to the HTML reports, um, they won't be shown. They will be hidden in those reports. We have it. What else do I have to tell you about this? Um, hopefully it's reasonably straightforward that you use the class list or manage entry to name your classes. You can come back to this thing and say, "Oh well, I don't want to a class anymore. I want to. It's no longer relevant. It was an entry that I was just playing around with, and I don't need it." Select the entry. Can switch. Are you sure you want to do this? There is no undo, and that class has been deleted. I can go into a class and I change the name of the class. So I click on here, the little pencil icon here, change the name of the class. Now I can change the name. Case may be. I don't know what else to tell you. There's always the Facebook group if you have questions. There's reply and post a comment to the video, and I will reply to that as quickly as I can. Otherwise, please send your feedback, what you like, what you don't, and hopefully I'll be able to make things work well for you. This is just the naming classes sort of part of it. There's a whole bunch more for the actually conducting classes, and I'll have another video for that as well. Um, I'll end with something of a mercenary note, but my extension is free, and I do intend to keep it that way. But if you are so inclined and would like to make a contribution, a show of appreciation, I would certainly appreciate that. And there's a link down below this video in the comments or description down below to a PayPal link that would allow you to make a contribution if you're so inclined. Otherwise, I wish everyone the best. Take care, stay safe, and I look forward to your feedback. Thanks.